Okay, so I'm thinking about the meta, right? It's really a stupid idea, but because it's not centered around really anything at all, I had an idea that I'd been working on for years, just writing parts of it, coming up with different stories, etc. And the way that I've been thinking about it more recently, it's like it could be something used with meta. Like if if let's say there was a better idea, I think that this idea would be better than meta. It was pretty simple, right? It's like these stories that I made that are all interconnected, and the idea is that it all makes multiple forms of media. That it goes from it will be mainly games, but it will go from that into music, and then also be able to be a job, sort of, because it's interesting, or I guess a nice attempt that what people are trying to do with MFTs, but it's really stupid at the end of the day. The idea, though, is that certain things would be a hold on, let me rethink it a little bit, because I'm thinking of another idea at the same time. Okay, so my idea, right, the way I was setting it up is that the game company itself would be a Bitcoin investment. And then you could invest in the music part, you could invest in the whatchamacallit, in the programming part, etc. Like you can invest in each part of the game. And then the way that you invest determines basically which parts of the game get the most updates, which parts of the game, you know, become more developed, basically. And it wouldn't be that you're only developing what's going high with the bids. You would be mainly developing those first, and then everything else will get developed. But the idea is that like musicians and actors and like everyone could have a part in making things that go along with the game, but not in a way where it's like the actor is the purpose or the new character or whatever. It'll be like, let's say Will Smith as an example, since this thing down here is about Will Smith. Let's say that Will Smith goes out and recruits some people, right? And then they design something, and then they put it into the world, into the into the game, into the music, all this stuff, right? And then if that gets funded, if people put their bids into it, then we start developing some of the stuff that Will Smith's team has, right? Like that's the idea. Like this is that's much better than this meta bullshit. But I was just thinking about it, and like my recent idea was like, would I work with someone to do this type of thing? Like would it be worth working with like Will Smith, or I mean not Will Smith, like working with like Meta or Facebook or whatever you want to call it now, or like trying to work with Microsoft. Because I also had an idea for another console, but the idea is that the consoles are all interconnected, so it would have a mobile version. I mean, not a mobile version. It would have a portable version. Then it would have each version of its own self, where it's like every game has to be running through each system. So no game gets released on this system unless it's set up that way. So because what annoys me is like spin-offs for video games. Why don't they just make all the DLC and stuff be mobile games? Because the DLC is always short bullshit that has nothing to do with the main story or anything like that. So they could take all the DLC that they make in games now, throw that into whatchamacallit, into portable console games, and then have the game on each platform. But that's generally the idea. I guess that's the end of the video though, because I can keep going, but that's more of a less developed idea of what I'm thinking of next.